What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Kiwan, and I am back with another episode of Zatima Season 4, Episode 16, Double. Before I start, make sure you like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell button so you can be updated on every video I drop. Make sure y'all like the videos so I can stay in the algorithm, alright? So, Episode 6 starts with Angela. She's looking for Fatima, and she goes into Fatima's office, or was it the conference room, to find, which was crazy, Leslie, but she thought was Fatima on the phone being rude because her back was turned. And so she was like, Fatima, the lady had the phone to her. Leslie had the phone to her ear, and she kept doing this, signaling Angela to, stop calling her name. And so Angela walked off. And so when Angela walked off, Leslie ran out of Fatima's office and hid in another space until the coast was clear. So Angela was walking and she ran right into Fatima because Fatima was coming out of the break room. And Angela was like, what was happening? Like, I just saw you. She was like, no, I just came out of the break room. So Angela was like, I know, I'm not tripping. And I don't know, I feel like the writer should have wrote in this moment about, what's her name? Angela telling Fatima about Leslie. But I guess she didn't want to tell her because she's pregnant. She didn't want to stress her out. Anyway, Fatima tells Angela that she's working with Sage, and Angela starts to fan out, right? And she had these papers in her hand. She put it in an out basket or whatever. It was sit next to the receptionist. And what I found was weird in that scene was after she put the paper, she turned around and she had this look on her face. Like it was almost like, I really don't want to be, like, it was a mad look on her face. Like Fatima turned around, she just, all of her energy, I don't know, it was just all in her face. It was just this look of anger. And I was just confused as to where that came from. I was like, what is that? I don't know. If y'all seen something, y'all drop it in the comments and let me know, because I was thoroughly confused. Unless her feet was hurting, she was tired, she pregnant, she want to go home. I don't know. But what I also found crazy in that scene was after she walked off, she went into her office. Leslie was able to come out. And the woman who was sitting at the front desk, she didn't recognize Leslie's face. Like, she literally probably thought that was Fatima, but I don't understand how nobody can't recognize it, because Fatima is a lot more built than than Leslie. Leslie is more petite and Leslie is shorter, and you have Fatima that's taller. But I get it, when it comes to the face, it favors just a little bit. So at the bar, Zach tells the guys about Fatima and how hard she's been working, but she doesn't seem like she's interested in anything that she's doing. And I want to say that could be the look that she had. It was more like a look of disdain on her face, aggravation, and I'm assuming that this is what Zach was talking about. But she seemed like she liked her job. She seemed like she had this knack for helping people and assisting people with certain things. I don't know. But the guys give Zach some good advice on Fatima. On Fatima. Bryce then starts to talk about Angela. And then, I don't know, Bryce just so delusional and goofy, if you ask me. Preston asked the guys, what did he do about Deja? They both told him to move. Like, what do you mean? What do you do about Deja? You don't quit her. You don't quit her. Like, I think the one thing I don't like is how they have Deja so thirsty. Whenever she see a man, she's very thirsty. And I just, yeah. Mm-mm. So, bipolar Leslie decides to walk into um, Belinda's salon, right? And Belinda looks at her and she thought it was Fatima because she was like, "Hey, girl," and then she looked again and she was like, "You look like somebody I know." Well, of course, Leslie knows everybody that's attached to Zach and Fatima, including Belinda. That's why she went to Belinda to get her hair done, because she knows Belinda was Fatima's stylist. So she wants her hair exactly like Fatima's. But again, Belinda is trying to put, two and two together. And y'all know, game recognized game. Y'all know, but in this moment, I was here for Belinda. Like, y'all know, I give her a lot. But in this, I was on her side. I really was, right? So Belinda was suggesting that that Leslie do something different to her hair, and she was like, "No, I just want some curls. I want my hair to be exactly like this." So you can see Belinda wheels was turning the moment Leslie walked into that salon. So, she started casual conversation. She asked Leslie about herself, and Leslie tells her she works for a law firm. Her boyfriend is a realtor, works in real estate. Real estate. Everything Fatima has, Leslie is mirroring it. And so again, Belinda's wheels are really turning. They're her wheels. And so, she takes the card. Leslie pays for her services. And so she looked at the back of the card. She was like, "Oh, Leslie is your name?" Playing it off. And she was like, "Yeah." But then they had a conversation. And she was like, "You just look like somebody I know, yada, 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 but we're not as cool anymore." And Leslie was like, "Well, you need to apologize." As if Leslie knew what was going on between Belinda and Fatima, but I think she do, based on that camera she had in their house. We don't know how long that camera been there. And so Belinda was like, "What do you mean? Why does it have to be me? You acting like, I know you like that." And she was like, "No, you just seem like, the way you're telling a story, as if you was the one who did something wrong and you need to apologize." So Leslie had to come back quick and clean it up, right? So Belinda was like, "Oh, okay, girl," sent her on her way out. And the first thing she did, she didn't call Angela. And now we're used to her always calling Angela with something, but she called Fatima directly. And so Fatima she contacts Fatima, and I was surprised that Fatima picked up the phone. So Belinda was like, "Hey, girl," exchange pleasantries. And she was like, "Do you know somebody named Leslie?" And before Belinda can get the words out of her mouth, Fatima cut her off and said, "Here you go being messy again." And Belinda was like, "It's not like that. It's not like that." And so she was like, "You're always doing something, you're always talking about." She thought that Belinda was coming to her about another woman in Zach, basically. But she really wasn't. And I think that Fatima done herself a disservice by not hearing Belinda out. But also, Belinda has done some real shady stuff. So even in her moment of true honesty, Fatima can't trust that, because you're always with some BS. Like, you're not to be trusted, right? But I wish Fatima would have heard her out. So I'm pretty sure this is predictable. So I'm pretty sure what's going to happen is Belinda's going to go tell, what's her name? Angela. Right? So Fatima gets upset and she starts to have these really sharp pains. I'm assuming like Braxton Hicks. And so Belinda was like, "Are you okay? Because you sound like you're having pains, having pains for the pregnancy." And she was like, "No, it ain't." Just Fatima just being tough, like, girl. And she was like, "It ain't that. It ain't that." And Belinda was like, "Well, that's not what it sounds like. It's just, yeah." So Belinda tells Fatima, "Listen, I miss our friendship." Fatima said, "I miss our friendship too." And so Belinda joked around and said, "Oh, that baby must be making you soft." And so Fatima got mad and she was like, "See, that's what I'm talking about." She was like, "I was just playing." She was just playing. And so she was like, "Can we work on our relationship?" And Fatima was like, "I don't want to. I don't, she don't really see it for her." But Fatima agrees to open, to open herself up to Belinda. But this is going to take slow movement. Like that movie Sloth, that little cartoon movie Sloth. Sloth. That's what that's going to be. Okay? I think that's the name of the movie. But the little sloth that was stamping the mail, that's going to be them. After that, Zach brings Fatima some food. Because he's headed to his anger management class and he was already at that bar and grill restaurant. Fatima looked like she was still in discomfort after Zach left. So I think she was still having pain. She was just maybe acting like it wasn't there. And then when Zach left, just she was having that discomfort again. And I just really need her to go sit down somewhere. I feel like she's taking on too much and her body is letting her know, like, "Ma'am, you're taking on way too much." All right. So we find out that Lori is in anger management classes as well. And she's been attending anger management classes for at least a month now. Dr. Reed teach anger management. And I love Dr. Reed. I love Dr. Reed. So, Dr. Reed, okay, if you don't know who Lori is Nate's wife. All right. So, Dr. Reed have them talking about shifting blame. Lori tells them about her conversation with Nate, and Zach confirms that Lori is really working on herself, y'all, because the last time we saw Lori, she had a bat in her hand. And I was here for it. All right. But on the last episode, she asked Nate to come home. I don't think he's made it home yet, but we'll get to that one shortly. So Dr. Reed tells him to comply with, tells Zach, like, you have to be here to comply with the court order, because Zach felt like, I'm just going to sit here and listen. No. You're going to be here, you're going to participate, and you're going to comply with the court order, and you're going to learn to handle your situation in an emotional, healthy way. Well, y'all know how Zach is. He go to fighting things first before just, fighting things instead of just actually hearing it out and actually giving it a try. So we find out from Lori that her and Nate haven't spoken in person because I don't think Nate went home yet. So he hasn't went home yet because he went from Belinda to the shop and he left out. But we thought he was home. I don't think he even came home yet. So, Dr. Reed tells Lori the next step for you and Nate is for y'all to have marriage counseling, right? And so Dr. Reed tells Zach, hey, I need you to share. So Zach was like, I thought my first session, I was just going to listen in. Dr. Reed was like, hell no to the no. So, he, in this moment, is being unserious. I don't know. But then he gets up and he says that, my name is Zach. And as Dr. Reed know, I don't come from the best family. My mama was an addict. My brother was a piece of shit. And sometimes they do things to upset me. So every day I wake up, I feel like I'm fighting for my life. And sometimes I get upset. So Dr. Reed asked Zach if it's someone else's fault. And he was like, is it someone else's fault that you are here? Zach says yes. Dr. Reed said, so you don't have zero account. So he said you have zero accountability in this, right? Zach says technically yes. But if people would just keep their phones down and mind their business, then things would have been straight. Dr. Reed asks, so if the people with the phones, it's their fault, right? Zach says, no, it's Jeremiah's fault. Dr. Reed tells him, you're the common denominator in all of this, So, he decided he wanted to pull a Medea. Y'all remember when Medea was in anger management with Dr. Phil, and she was like, if they get me, I gotta get them. So it was just one of them little ones who's that's what they reminded me of. They little back and forward. So Lori co-signs Zach's BS. Dr. Reed tells Zach that he has the inability to take his emotions out of other people's hands. Like in the moment, you have the inability to take your emotions out of other people's hands. Meaning you giving these people way too much power. And he does. He's done that for quite some time. But I think that had a lot to do with his mom, upbringing, and all of that. Dr. Reed tells Zach, people will push your buttons. They don't have to react. But y'all don't have, I'm sorry. He tells Zach, people will push your buttons, but y'all don't have to react and then y'all. Okay, sorry. Let me fix that. Dr. Reed tells Zach, people are going to push your buttons, but you guys don't have to react. And you do not allow people to have that much power over your emotions. There you go. So Dr. Reed and Zach asked Zach to get up so he can do an exercise with him. So he pushed him. And Zach just immediately just went from 0 to 1,000. And so he flinched at Dr. Reed, and Dr. Reed didn't blink. So he looked at Dr. Reed. He said, you didn't even jump. So Dr. Reed was like, because you wasn't going to hit me. And Zach was like, I really do want to hit you. I've been wanting to hit you since I met you. And I'm like, huh? I guess. I don't know. But ultimately, he tells Zach, you didn't hit me because you were able to control your emotions. That was the point of the exercise. Just controlling your emotions. You want to hit somebody, you are mad, you are boiling mad, but you can't. And not because you're scared, it's because you have the ability to control your emotions. Like, anyway, so he summed up everything and told the class, listen, we can't blame others for how they act, but we can blame ourselves for how we react to them. And I really thought this was a good session, y'all. I enjoy Dr. Reed being on here. Yeah, I enjoy these sessions because they be like real life. And what I appreciate, just a quick second, I appreciate how Tyler Perry is bringing all of the things that we go through on a daily basis, and he is putting it in his writing. Y'all, I felt like before the storylines was just about, when it came to sisters, it was just about control, relationships. I mean, it was just different things. But now I feel like he's speaking on things that are so heavy out, like mental health and anger issues and emotional issues. Like it's just I love this space that Tyler Perry is in right now. I know the writing can be a little wonky sometimes, but I just like the space that Tyler Perry is in right now, and he's having hard conversations through the characters. So I'm here for it. So Fatima comes out of her office, and Leslie, she comes out of the office and heads to her car. There's a stuffed animal in her car, and she didn't know where it came from, so she took it out and she threw it away. In this moment, I was thinking, I hope Leslie didn't do anything to her car. Like, how did she get in the car? Like, this lady needs to be studied, and I just hope we don't see her anymore after this season. So, in the next scene, Connie was sitting on the porch, and y'all could tell Connie look sick because her eyes, they're dark. They got her eyes dark. And so Jeremiah comes down the stairs, and I'm looking at Jeremiah like, why these out? He have all these patches on his head. It's like patches here and there, and maybe that came from the hot. I don't know. But Connie tells Jeremiah to get sober, and she was like, I can help you, but Connie, you need to help yourself first before you can try to help anybody else. And that's real. And y'all know I go up for Connie. But this, you cannot help him. He has to want to get the help. And it's clear and it's evident that Jeremiah does not want to be helped. He wants to be on drugs. He is ill. He has a disease. And it's hard to kick that kind of a disease. And there are people out there that will say, you can get off drugs. You just don't want to. I ain't never been on drugs in my life. But I will say that seems as though that was a stronghold. Like, I found out my dad was a functioning druggie. But that's what landed him in the hospital, having all of those strokes. And the last stroke he had, it had him in the hospital. He had to go to a nursing home. And was that the same year? No, like 11 months later, still being in a nursing home, he eventually passed away. Like, and it was I don't know how hard the lesson was for him, but there were things that my dad would say, like she wasn't around. And I think in those moments, he just gave up. He gave up on himself, and because he didn't see no way out. And I feel like he was in a box. He was stuck in a box like Jeremiah. There are people out there who are stuck in a box. And it's not just drugs. It is other things. And it can't seem... They can't seem to get out of the box that they're in. And it's unfortunate, Sorry, y'all. Anyway... Connie, she fainted a little bit. Of course, I think the fainting came from, I don't know if that was the chemo that causes things like this. She fainted, and he grabbed her, and no, I'm sorry, y'all. She didn't faint at that moment. She was just trying to convince him that he needed help. And he grabs her and she tells him, get off of me. You scaring me. And so my question again to Connie is, how can you help Jeremiah? You can't. Jeremiah tells Connie that his mom came to him when he was high. And Connie kind of brushed that off. Y'all know how you have that person that is mentally unstable, and people used to say, oh, don't worry about that person, they're crazy. That's what Connie did in that moment. And so he tells her, he wants to see his mom again. And so I feel like this is what he's looking for, his next high, so he can be with his mom. She tells him, don't say that, which means Jeremiah wants to end, the life he's had. So in this moment, Connie fainted and he catches her. And even in that moment, you can see the humanity in Jeremiah's eyes. Like, you didn't see him as the druggie. I love how he acts. You see him as, oh my God. And I feel like when he caught Connie and he asked her, he's okay, if she's okay, he had that moment of care. It was a quick moment, but it was there. He asked her if she was okay, and she was like, yeah. And clearly she's not, because she still hasn't disclosed any of this to anybody except for Tony. But I think Tony is knee deep in his stuff that I don't even know if he even remember that Connie told him this. And so he tells her, Connie tells Jeremiah, I'm going to go inside and lay down. And he was like, yeah, go inside and lay down, because, it's too late for me. And it's so unfortunate that there are so many people who are in this box and they don't see anything because they can't seem to get out of that box, and they feel like their life is over. It's a lot. So he calls his mama again. He was like, Mama. He called her again. So over at Zach and Fatima's, he makes dinner for her, buys her roses, and she apologized to him for her attitude that morning. And this is what I like, y'all. This is what I like to see. Getting along, Zach and Fatima being in a swing of things. But then when you see them at odds on Sisters, it's like, wow. Like, we don't want this. This is not the Zatima that everybody know. So anyway, in the next scene, Jeremiah got his fix. He went behind a dumpster and he said, ever since he lost everything, he lost his self-respect, his children. He said, and he made drugs his God. He said, the pain, he said, so as he was shooting up, he said, and the pain begins to go away because he's not thinking about nothing because he's high. He's not thinking about kids. Anything that's happening around him is, he says he lost his kids, he lost his wife, he lost his self-respect. And he kept calling God's name. He kept saying, God, oh God, oh God. And then he OD'd. And this was probably the most heaviest episode this season. For me, I can't speak for nobody else, but for me, right? And so we understand that this episode spoke more about addiction, mental health, anger issues, learning to deal with your emotions, learning to understand anything outside of you has nothing to do with you, and you cannot control anything outside of you. You can only control you. Being honest with oneself. And when I say being honest with oneself, I mean even with Zach, with him being honest and understanding that you didn't have to have that fight. You didn't have to invite yourself to these fights. Also, as I wanted to let y'all know watching Dr. Reed's session, I thought about a book that I had just finished reading. And if you have not bought it, it is called The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. And for me, it was very life changing. I mean, the last three episodes, not episodes, the last three chapters in that book was right on time. And I needed it at that moment 4 months ago when I was in the thick of what I had going on. The book teaches you to learn anything outside of you has nothing to do with you. You can't. There are things that we shouldn't get mad about, that we often get mad about, and then there's that other side of the let them, and there's that accountability side where you say let me. So if you have not, it is called The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. It's a good book. It's a good book. And I was just reminded, just this episode alone, the session with Dr. Reed, made me think about that book. I think I'm gonna pick it up again and just read it again. It was good. It was really good. But yeah, y'all, this was a good episode. Sorry, y'all, got a little long-winded. This episode was really good. I was going to do The Real Housewives of Miami. I did write my notes, y'all, but it's getting pretty late and I have to get up for work in the morning. So let me see. Tomorrow I will have Reasonable Doubt, The Real Housewives of Miami, and I want to say this is the last part of the Ready to Love reunion part 2. So yeah, y'all will have all of that tomorrow. And I'm thinking about what's going to be my next 1 or 2 throwback season 1 episodes. I'll drop it in a community wall just to see what y'all think. Let me know. I just don't know when I'm going to do it, but I'm thinking about it. So I'll drop it on my community wall. Anyway, I will see y'all tomorrow. All right. Have a good night.